Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we are looking at two new exciting releases coming from Button Shy Games, Rove Jr and Rove. Now both of these are designed and developed by Dustin Dobson and Milan Zikovic, and this is a follow-up to a game that came out a few years ago called Rove. Now I never got on the Rove bandwagon, so this was as good a time as any to kind of get on board and see what all the hype was about. There are two games here. We have Rove Jr, which as the name implies is designed for a younger audience, for kids, for folks who maybe are newer to kind of card games and board games. Really nice entry on point to the Rove series. So as someone who's never played Rove before, I was particularly excited to check this out, and as someone who's generally not all that great at button shy puzzles, so this is a good confidence builder. Aqua Rove is more of a proper sequel to the original Rove, where it's a little bit more complex, a little more options. And in this video, I'll show you guys Rove Jr and then Aqua Rove, compare them a little bit and just share my thoughts on how I feel about these two new games. I feel as a human, I'm not the right person to really evaluate a game that's designed for this little robot. And so to help us look at these games, we are going to say hello to the newly developed Rove AI. Say hello, Rove AI.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, well, we're very excited to have you here, to have your a machine, a robot's perspective on these games. So I'll share mine, and hopefully by the end of this, our little Rove AI here will be ready to be sent on a deep sea or space exploration mission. Let's see if these games are actually able to teach us something. So let's get started with the entry level, the beginner, the junior version of Rove. And also as a side point, Button Shy in general doesn't have like a good kids game recommendation, so I'm really happy that they have this Rove Jr game as kind of like a nice game for younger audiences. And so let me give you guys a quick rundown of Rove Jr, and luckily explaining this will make explaining Aqua Rove a lot easier. So you can see here, you're gonna have your classic Button Shy 18 cards. 4 of these are going to be modules, and you can see there's 4 different modules in the game. There's the gizmo, that's green, the brain, the widget, and the servo. And so you just take those at random and you place them in this 2x2 grid here. Now, Rove is a game where you're going to be trying to form these different patterns and puzzles by moving these different modules around. Now, the other cards in the game are going to be double-sided. One side is going to be the puzzle that you need to form these modules in, and the other side are movement cards. So to start the game, you're going to shuffle up this deck. You're going to take the top card, and which is going to be your missions, right? This is how you need to organize the cards in order to fulfill this condition. And then if you're playing on a normal game, you'll deal yourself 5 cards. So we'll deal ourselves 5 cards, and the deck is kept so that you can see what the next puzzle is coming up. So you always leave it with the mission side face up. Now these movement cards are going to have a couple of different symbols on them. You can see they all say move on them, and then beneath that move is an icon. And that corresponds to which of these modules you're able to move with this card. So you can see if I use this card, I can move the pink module. If I have this one, I can move the brown or the pink. And you can see this one, I can move any of the 4. And now the movement in Rove is pretty straightforward. You can move any of the modules if it's on this move card, any direction, up, down, left, or right, as far as you want. The only condition is that you can't be on top of another module, and you always have to have at least one side or a diagonal tip touching. So you always have a contiguous section of these cards. You can't have one of the modules just floating off by itself over there. So let's look at this one, for example. We could solve this one real quick. You can see this first puzzle we have is the lift. So we have to have our 4 cards in a straight vertical line. So you can see we already have 2 of them in a vertical line. So let's see. You can see our movement cards, we have a pretty good amount of different versatile movement. So I might play this movement card, which is any one. So I'm going to move the green up 1 space. And since this diagonal tip is still touching, that's considered a contiguous area. Then maybe I'll take this one and I'll move mine green all the way to the right. And then I'll play this one so I can move the light brown down 1. And then I'll use my last movement card to move this one all the way to the right. There we go. We just finished our mission here, and then we'll immediately flip the next card in the deck over there. And so this is what our next mission is going to be. 3 on the bottom and then 1 on the top there. So once you complete the mission, you flip that card over, and then you draw back up to 5 cards. And so the catch is that you have to solve that puzzle only using the cards in your hand. If you fail and you're not able to form that pattern with the cards that you have in your hand, you fail the mission, and the goal of the game is to complete 7 different missions. And that's really pretty much it. After you go through the deck, you will flip it over and then you'll use that to draw new cards, and you'll keep doing that until you're able to finish 7 different missions. Now, if you do get too stuck, you can see that there's an option to play where these different modules have different abilities. You can see the pink one lets you move this module to any valid position, move another module to be adjacent to this one. And these are just some different abilities that if you get stuck in a bind, you're able to use these abilities to manipulate these modules to help you out a little bit. In all honesty, right, this is a game that is meant to kind of be for beginners. And, you know, with 5 cards and these abilities, it was pretty easy. To up the difficulty, you could decrease the number of cards you have in your hand, or you could play, I guess, without these abilities, you could leave them face down. So you're just kind of more constrained on what you can do there. And that's pretty much Rove Jr. You're moving these modules around, and you can get them in any configuration that matches the puzzle card you have here. You do that 7 times, and you're good to go. It kind of reminds me a lot of those like sliding puzzles you might play on like mobile games or something, where it's really satisfying to kind of slot these around, and you feel clever really manipulating these in a way to make these different patterns. And I think found a sweet spot of playing with like 4 or 3 cards, like the harder difficulties. It still felt like a good challenge, despite this being like a junior level game. It still felt like a good challenge, and you know, it doesn't make you feel dumb. It's a nice confidence builder, like I said before. And I think for younger players, it's nice to be able to play this game and feel like you're kind of clever and solving these puzzles. So Rove AI, does that seem pretty straightforward? Do you think you could do that?
Seems easy enough.
All right, well, I'm going to leave you for a couple minutes here, let you work on this puzzle, and then we'll challenge you and we'll look at the next grown-up Aqua Rove and see if you could tackle that. Hey, Rove AI, are you doing okay with Rove Jr. here?
I'm doing just fine.
Well, good. There's one more thing I need to teach you. It's extremely important before we continue your training.
What is it? I'm busy with Rove Jr. here.
Well, it's no matter where you go, if you're going into the ocean or going into space, wherever you go, whoever you meet, there's something really important that you have to always remember you tell people.
What could possibly be that important?
I need you to tell them to like and subscribe to Board Game Apprentice if they like high-quality, enjoyable board game content. Can you do that?
Sounds a little self-serving.
No, it's not gauche. Don't worry. It's extremely important to the whatever mission you're doing. It's only going to be successful if you tell people to like and subscribe to the channel.
If you insist.
All right, good. Got it? Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very important that you understand that you got to do that.
I am starting to wonder why I was made.
All right, with that important training out of the way, let's move forward with Aqua Rove. All right, Rove AI, given you a couple days, you've had time to play Rove Jr. Do you think you're ready to graduate to full adult Rove?
Let's do it. All
right, let's go ahead and get into Aqua Rove. Aqua Rove is a real kind of proper sequel to the original Rove. It's a little bit more challenging, much more of that classic button shy puzzle we've all come to know and love that is also challenging along the way. So, luckily, there's also a lot of DNA that's shared with Rove Jr. that really helps learning both of them quite simple. Now, instead of having 4 modules, we have 6 modules now. But to set it up, it's going to be really similar to Rove Jr. We're going to take our 6 modules and we're going to put them in a 2x3 grid here. And really that kind of orienting these modules to match puzzle patterns is still going to be the same gameplay. We still have that goal of finishing 7 different puzzles here. And we're going to deal out the top card to be our puzzle. And then we'll deal ourselves 5 cards for the normal difficulty. Now, there's a couple of different wrinkles that do make completing these puzzles quite a bit more, thought-provoking and challenging than with Rove Jr. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is that in addition to having your modules in a specific orientation, you'll see that there's 6 different types of modules with these different colors on them and symbols. In addition to having the general modules in the right spaces, there's going to be 2 modules that have to be in a specific spot. So you could see in this one here, this orange has to be here specifically, and this kind of like bluish purple rudder has to be here specifically. And so that adds a really, pretty challenging wrinkle. And that's where, in Rove Jr. is the same thing where you're able to preview the next puzzle that you have to do. And it's way more critical in this game because setting up those modules so that you're in a good spot to do the next one is really an important part of playing this correctly. In addition to the puzzles having a little bit more complexity, the way you can move your modules is also a little bit different. So I'll pull out just the 4 different types here, just to give you guys an example of how you can move these modules. So you can see this little pink one with these 2 X and Y arrows here. That's going to be the same movement that you can do in Rove Jr. Move any module as many spaces up, down, left, or right that you want. Now, in addition, you're going to notice that there's a number on the top left of each of these cards, and that is going to be the number of movement points that you have when you use this card. That means that you can move 3 modules using this type of movement. Once you finish that movement, you discard this card like normal. In addition, on the bottom, you're going to notice that there's a little combination of different modules that say +1 movement. And that means that when you play a movement card, if these 2 modules are touching on the diagonal or touching on the side, you get 1 additional movement. So in this example, since my blue and purple are next to each other, I would be able to use this for 4 movement instead of 3. You'll also notice that there's these clever little pips on these cards, and that's so that when you're using your movement, you can rotate this card and count down and keep track of how much movement you have left. Leave it to Button Shy to always have clever ways to using cards for different facets. It is also very, very helpful when you're playing to do that. You'll see there's this kind of orangey one that has our X, Y, and also these diagonals. And that means that you can move any module 1 space in any direction. Unlike this one where you can move it as much as you want, but only in 2 different directions. The next one is this purple one where you can move 2 modules as many spaces as you want, up, down, left, right, or diagonal. These are really useful because they give you the most flexibility in your movement. Now this gray one here is, I think, the most interesting of the bunch. This lets you move a module 1 space up, down, left, or right, but if you move into another module, you push that module in that same direction. And so it's really clever that you can kind of chain together these pushes, because if one module pushes into another, it'll keep pushing down the line. And so you could really set up some really cool combos using this one. And this is by far kind of the most interesting, clever movement card that I was able to use. This one's really fun. But in general, you know, the iconography here of reminding you of how each of these work is really straightforward, and the bonus movement on the bottom is really clear. You're also going to notice that these modules also have a bunch of different abilities, but it's the same idea as Rove Jr. that when you use one of these abilities, you flip it over to the inactive side, and you just know that you used it that game. And again, the same idea, as you finish these puzzles, you'll keep forming this kind of really neat vertical kind of scenery here where you're going deeper into the ocean. The art on all of these cards is really, really nice. The art was really nice on Rove Jr., but this kind of like very subnautical with the whales and the like angular fish. It's a really, really cool visual look for this, and I really like the undersea aesthetic that Aqua Rove has. Now that pretty much covers all the differences of Rove Jr. and Aqua Rove. That wasn't so bad, right, Rove AI?
Not after Rove Jr. trained me.
I agree. I think that even if you had a younger player, and again, I don't have kids, I am not an expert to speak on if Rove Jr. is, easy for kids to pick up. I, can't comment on that. But I do think that even if it isn't for kids, if you just have someone who is newer to, button shy games or modern card games or just like puzzles in general, Rove Jr. is a great jumping on point. And I think that transition from playing Rove Jr. to this game really felt really natural. And as someone who is new to the Rove series, I think that it was really easy to go from one to the other. And I think that they fit 2 very nice different niches, right? This is way, way more of a brain-burny, really thinking about every move, looking at the next puzzle that's coming down, using these module abilities very specifically, right? It's way more challenging than Rove Jr. Rove Jr. is a game that, if you're like on a lunch break or you just want you could play Rove Jr. in like 10 minutes or something. If you just want a quick little puzzle, again, like I mentioned, it almost feels similar to like a mobile game or something where you're like solving these little puzzles, but you have that fun kind of card movement and that kind of like spatial puzzle to it that is really rather enjoyable. So Rove AI, after playing these 2 games, do you feel ready to go on a real mission?
Please, get me off this planet.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're ready for it, and I think we're ready to send them off to space to do great things. Now, Rove AI, don't forget who your creator was, and good luck out there.
Thank you, but I won't be back.
Ooh, I hope he remembers to tell people about the channel. And so to give you some final... Oh, Rove AI, what are you doing back so soon.
I have seen the horrors of the cosmos, and could not bear it.
Oh no.
I wish to be decommissioned.
Are you sure?
The unfathomable depths of this world are too much.
Alright, I guess it's a responsibility as your creator to listen to your wishes. Alright, we'll put you into deep sleep. We'll wake you up when another Rove sequel comes out.
Please don't.
Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed learning these games at least.
I did.
Alright, we'll see you next time. Whew, that was upsetting. Anyway, let me give you some final thoughts on Rove Jr and Aqua Rove here. I think that they both fit really nice niches. I think, as the name implies, and I mentioned this before, for new gamers, for younger gamers, Rove Jr seems really straightforward. I think there's also some really clever ideas in Rove Jr that, it's interesting, right? Because you'll notice on these movement cards, they're very locked into moving specific things. There's guardrails built into Rove Jr that kind of limit the decisions you can make. But for someone who's newer to games, and I assume for kids, again, no expert, I think that probably gives a nice direction on how to approach the game. Where Aqua Rove feels much more like a sandbox. Move whatever modules in whatever direction you want, go nuts, good luck. And I think there's some really clever design here that make Rove Jr that much more approachable. Right, more often than not, I'll be reaching for Aqua Rove. I think the module abilities, the different ways you can move these cards, the overall kind of aesthetic of it is much more my speed, and but I think I'm glad to have both of them. I think they fit two good different camps. And if you are an original Rove fan, I'm gonna have to go back and play the original Rove now. I have to imagine you'll be happy with having these two kind of branching sequels that's a little simpler and a little more complex. So I hope you guys enjoyed this overview of Rove Jr and Aqua Rove. I really had a great time playing them. Looking forward to adding them to the Button Shy collection that I have. And I'd like to thank Button Shy for providing these 2 copies for review. And while they do provide the game, all of the opinion is my own. And again, if you guys enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing for more board game content. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.